That's what we heard, and I would like to thank the speakers, but we have time for questions. And we have 10 to 15 minutes for questions. I would like to take some of the questions from the floor. Yes, please.
Morning, Maurizio Orlandi from EPTA Group. I don't know which who can answer, but how much image treatment and software, as an example, for object recognition and positioning, is still in the research area, or yet it is funding a ground for products?
It was a very, very difficult question. Everybody's looking at me. Okay. No, I think in this case we are really on the research area. I think that's an open issue, and that's for sure the next step. If we now have an easy to program controller, and not blaming COMAU, but in this case I know a little bit better from the colleagues from Universal. I think they solved this very well, and on the robot side, I think with Robot Eva, there is a robot available, and from COMAU we learned we have all the knowledge we need from the application side. But if we get to the lot size one, as I explained, we have to have some kind of cognition, to get out of this teaching and learning phase how to grip a part. For example, this is something which has to come with a part, and my dream is that perhaps in the next 2 years, to the Automatica, for example, that's the big show for the robotics and the roboticists. In 2 years, I hope we have some products on this side available in the community.
But just add that I think that the software and the software interaction with hardware has come very, very long way the past 5 years or so on. But I still think that we have only scratched the surface, and I think that all of us working in this industry and working towards making robotics more accessible to SMEs and the operators in such, we still have a long way to go, and we definitely at our side still have a very extensive roadmap of things that we want to bring to market over the coming years.
Well, let me say one thing. I think that first of all, you have to forget about software. You know, if you want to increase the usage of robots, you know, you have to plug and play, as I said. When you buy a PC, you know, you don't care about the software, but you just use it. And this, if we want to have a great success about the robotic and in the small medium enterprise, we should be able as producer to give a product like that.
Any other question?
My name is Margherita Peruzzini, Università Politecnica delle Marche. All of you spoke about simplify human-machine interaction. So I think that it's a very important point for SMEs, improving the usability of the machines. And I would like to know where are you studying this aspect, facing this aspect? Are you using virtual reality simulators or what else? Thank you.
So, how are we developing the human-computer interaction, or human-robot interaction?
I will not say that we are using simulators as such. I think a lot of the work here is basically to go out and observe the challenges that are available in the different manufacturing environments, and then using these observations to go back and basically develop solutions. So I will not say it's simulations. I think that we are we are moving towards an robotic technology where everything is done in the factory, on the manufacturing floor, and where you are no longer sitting in labs developing the applications, but you basically go and do things. So as many other industries, I would say the robotics and the software is developing into doing rather than simulating.
I agree in case of simulation, because if you take a look on the small and medium enterprises, do you really have the people over there being able and being trained to work with the simulation system? And the simulation systems you can get today on the market are pretty expensive, very often more expensive than the robots sell with all the application itself. In my opinion, taking a look on the example I brought in the video, I think a big part of programming of a robot in the future might be programming by demonstration, which means the worker is doing the task by himself and is moving the robot, taking the robot and demonstrating what the robot should be. And my dream in the future might be to install a cheap video system like the camera system you have in your mobile to watch what the worker is doing and to get these in some case of a simulation into the robot controller.
Well, let me say also, I agree with my colleague, the cost of this software is too expensive and maybe higher than the robots. So we have to find a way that we simplify and become, and let them become more cheaper, at least. We develop, all of us, more or less the manual guidance device. And this, I think, that overpasses in some way this simulation, this software simulation, and I think is more or less available for all of us. So there's no problem about it.
In fact, the interaction with the robot, if you compare it to the interaction with the computer, where a lot of research has been done in the past, a lot of evolution, brings new dimension to the human factor issue. I think that's it's a big challenge, and I think the autonomy of the robot, capacity to learn to adapt to the human, becomes extremely important. And I think the lessons that we learn from robotics or the progress in that type of interaction can have implication on the rest of the digital industry, how you interact with the digital artifacts in general. And we see it happening already. It's clear. So, any other question? From the floor? We're almost on time. We can take just the last one. Yes, please go ahead.
Johannes Klingmer, I'm from a research institution in Austria. So my question goes to, there's so much, the Xbox and PlayStation and everyone. So in the electronic environment for gaming, they have a lot of interactions with devices. And is this hardware also entering the robotics production environment? Or I mean, also the software. But I mean, is there a strong interaction and cooperation with these disciplines?
I would say that some of the things are definitely entering. You can say some of the hardware that you use with, for instance, Xbox can also be hooked up to robots and used to program the robot. So you can basically record motion or have the robot following your movements. So there's some things we learn there. I think where we in the robotics industry can learn a lot from the, say, gaming industry is on the user interfacing and the whole interaction between the user and the machine. So I would not say that there are any cooperation there today, at least not from our side, any structured cooperation, but there's a lot to be learned.
In addition, I think to the gaming industry, the physics engine, you could get from the gaming, especially in interaction with human beings. That's a first approach to get a brief idea in simulating working cells, especially for TÜV approval, getting approval how it might work and what might happen. That's one topic. And the user interfaces, I think that's more the discussion of bring your own device. And the question we are struggling with ourselves, and for sure the colleagues are doing the same, is it valid to develop a teach pendant for the next generation of robots? Do we still need a teach pendant in 3 or 5 years from now? Or is the user coming with own devices like tablets, and perhaps for the mobile robotics, we are still using the gamepad from I think it was the Nintendo system, not the Xbox, but it's more or less the same. You cannot develop it by yourself; it's too expensive. Yeah, because it's a couple of bucks, and with the teach pendants today, it's expensive compared to a notebook or stuff like this, and you have to take care. If it's falling down, it should not be damaged because it's so expensive. And if you take a look on the market, you can get a small tablet for 80, for 100 bucks doing the same. And in this case, it would be much cheaper solution. And in smaller enterprises, I think people are more proud of using these systems than in the big companies where it's a given from the boss, and do they really care of this? Okay, if you don't watch them Friday, you have to clean it now. They don't care about this, which means it has to be IP54 and pretty stable and so on, which makes it expensive. And with small enterprises, I think it's valid to think about the mainstream IT technology for the future, for the controllers and the user interfaces.
Yeah, I think this mutual learning from the different sides of the industry are extremely important. We have a set of projects to look at what can we learn from the gaming industry. And I think the gaming industry learned a lot also from the work done on simulation of movements, on all types of motions. And I've seen very sophisticated software used by the gaming industry to simulate movements, etc., that are interesting. So that mutual learning is extremely important indeed. I think the digital technologies are producing transformation across the manufacturing sector. I mean, robotics is part of a key part of that. We know also about how cloud is, the use of cloud services, and the cloud technology is also impacting the industry, or at least the promise of impacting the industry, but also big data analytics, simulation, visualization, all what's happening on cyber-physical systems, and I'm sure we'll be hearing about that throughout the day. That's, I think, I have 0 seconds left on my watch here, so we're done. I would like to thank you all. I noticed that Bernd, in describing the robot, he was referring not to it does that, but he does that. I mean, he could say she does that as well, and I think it's revealing the robot as a colleague in the future. That's revealing, but I must say it's not science fiction anymore. We've seen it working in different environments, and it's coming. The potential is huge, as we said, for the economy, but also for addressing our key societal challenges. We saw the impact on health. We have, this is a new area developing, all the professional service robotics. It's a very, very important area. And I must say also, sorry for the publicity for Europe, we're doing very well in this. And professional service robots, we have 65% of the world produced robots in Europe. So it's also an area where if you want to collaborate, you know where to come. The potential is huge. And it's up to us all together to make it happen. And I will just end there. Many thanks for our speakers for giving us their views of how they see the mainstreaming of robotics in SMEs and the widespreading of the use of robotics across the economy and the society. Many thanks to you all. Many thanks to our speakers. So that's it.